Hello YouTubers. This video is going to be about how I manage my Turo finances. I am going to focus mainly on spreadsheets and how to track your finances with spreadsheets. There is an ulterior motive for this, as I'm hawking my own spreadsheet that I put a fair amount of time and thought into, and maybe you'll find it useful for your Turo tracking as well. My channel is going to be about Turo hosting for the part-timer that wants to make their side business as efficient as possible with the least amount of work put in. Basically for those trying to get as close as we can get to this becoming passive income. Using this spreadsheet will be a learning experience for some of you who have not used spreadsheets before. I will be using the Google Docs spreadsheet, which is a free spreadsheet application available to anybody with a Google account. As you can see in the Turo platform earnings on the page here for the host, there's some basic tracking of your finances, and you can see it by car and by year, and then transactions, which can be downloaded as a CSV file as well. But generally, as a host, we want a little more data than that, and I like to track a lot of different types of data, including how many days my cars have been out, the mileage per trip, any delivery charges that I've made, parking fees and or washes, or any expenses related to Turo. This allows me to track when I have made my changes to either price or extras, or how much I am making from day to day, and if making the changes were positive or not. This is a somewhat inexact science, so we do the best we can, but nothing's perfect. But with no data, you have a hard time deciding which decisions may be affecting your business. So this is my older kind of hot mess tracking sheet that I started out with at the beginning of this year. It worked for me for the most part, but it wasn't very accurate and didn't have all the kind of data that I wanted to have at my fingertips to know whether I was doing positive things to make money or I was actually hurting my business. So eventually I also wanted to track cash flow. So I created a cash flow portion of the spreadsheet where, as you can see, I had my expenses in the red listed here, dates that I needed to pay things. I would put them in the first column here, and then when I actually paid them out, move them to the next column and just track to what totals were going out as related to what was also coming in. The top part of the spreadsheet here, when I had a trip come in or booked a trip, I would add the amount to the right-hand side of the column and then kind of estimate what the payout date was going to be, and then when it actually hit my account, move it from the completed column to this other column to the left. And that was how I tracked money coming in and going out, and whether I had additional money to either pay myself or put towards the principal on the loans for the cars that did have loans. Then from all of the monthly spreadsheets for each car, I had an aggregated data chart where I could make actual graphical charts telling me about my overall income versus profit, and the days out per car, expenses by vehicle, average income per day, overall profit, total income. And like I said, it was a bit of a hot mess, and the new spreadsheet kind of tidies this all up, moves some things around, and takes a little more into account tax expenses to get you ready to handle tax time and make that as efficient as possible once tax time comes, because you can, depending on your tax situation, have a positive benefit from tax time, depending on what your tax situation is. I'm not a tax attorney, and I'm not going to tell you how to do your taxes for Turo, but there's a lot of resources out there, and I will show you how I'm doing mine. And if you have a similar tax situation, then it may work for you, but you definitely should always consult with a tax professional. As I put a little more thought into this and decided to track everything a little more accurately and actually see whether I was making money or how much money. I knew I was making money, but I wanted to know exactly how much money I was making at any given time. I also wanted to get as much of the tax info I needed at the end of the year into one place, as far as expenses per car, tracking mileage, things like all that. So now I'm tracking income, expenses, vehicle equity, depreciation, profit before and after depreciation. And for taxes, I'm tracking the overall miles, Turo miles, and the percentage of miles that are Turo miles, which is the important thing to know whether you are actually qualifying for the business write-off. The loan interest expense, insurance, and the total of all that, which at a basic level is my total tax deductible expenses in a given month per car. And that's what I have in the yellow in this particular spreadsheet. The 36136 is everything I could write off on my taxes that I'm tracking here on this individual spreadsheet. There's other things like business office expense, computers. You can expense phones, things like that, as long as it's related to performing your business tasks. And in the new spreadsheet, I'm also tracking maintenance. This is anything that I do to any of the cars. I just have it separated by car, date, mileage, when the next due should be, if it's a typical like oil change or tires, when you can expect those to probably be due again. And then I also built a utilization calendar where I manually, and if you purchase the spreadsheet, you can manually go in and highlight the days that you have your vehicle out for. Turo doesn't track this, and a lot of people ask a lot of questions, especially like on Reddit, about why am I not getting any rentals? And although it's been a real up and down world with COVID and the rental car shortages, the chip shortages due to COVID, this is one way that you can track which is a slow period and which isn't a slow period, year to year. And that's what I utilize it, or will be using this for. I have my same aggregation page. It's just a little cleaned up. I have all cars by month, what days out, miles, average miles per day, average income per day, monthly income, delivery, and extras. And then I have that all broken down then by car as well. Income car by month, days out by car, miles by car, average income per day by car, delivery income by car, extras by car, and then the important things. The one that makes you real happy, which is profit by car without depreciation. And then the one that makes you not quite as happy, profit by car including depreciation. And then I total expenses by car, maintenance by car, and then I have a miscellaneous column here, which if you see in the January here, this is a place where you could add your own if you decide to purchase the spreadsheet and track month to month. You have to add the columns yourself in each additional month, but there is space to do that. As far as the depreciation, to explain that, how I do it and how this individual spreadsheet works, is the only place you really need to add to track your data is I put in the reservation number. Everything that's in this trip number 1, I add, and then it tracks in the aggregate your yearly profit and loss. As far as the depreciation goes, I am taking at the beginning of the month what the NADA book value for my car with its options and mileage is, and then at the end. A lot of times it doesn't change month to month, but it generally does every 3 months or every 3,000 or 4,000 miles. You will see a drop in $400 or $500 in the depreciation, or what the car is worth based on the NADA. If you would notice throughout this year, it actually has gone up because of what prices for used cars have kind of skyrocketed this year. So we've been seeing an actual increase, and in a lot of months, no decrease in value of the cars. And I also utilize the second section here for cash flow management. I was using it all in one aggregated page, but now I'm doing it by car, and I have the dates I have things due per car. And I also use this to track tolls. I reconcile tolls per trip each month. At the end of the month, I will go through and check and see if I have been reimbursed for my tolls based off my toll tags receipts. And then check off. It won't be actually in the for pay spreadsheet. This has changed from a checkbox to a pull-down menu that says yes or no. The checkboxes didn't translate well in a CSV file. And that's basically what I'm tracking from any given month. To explain this sheet a little more, the expenses all get totaled up on the left-hand side here under maintenance and miscellaneous, which includes the blue section here. And parking and washes comes from the bottom of the spreadsheet over here, and that's an additive column from each individual trip. And then I'm entering manually my payment interest and my insurance for the car. And I enter a N mile for the month, and then that gets automatically moved over to the next month for the car. And the only thing you have to add as far as miles is this field here for the January N miles. And I get that off of my bouncy GPS tracker, or you just wherever it is if I happen to be checking it at the end of the month in the car itself. And then these are the yearly miles for the car, the Turo yearly miles, and then what percentage of Turo use, which is, like I said, important for tracking tax-wise, because a business use car has to be used at least 50% or more for the business. And that's basically what the spreadsheet has. That all aggregates into the final dashboard, which I track. This is kind of the pretty part of the spreadsheet. Tracks profit versus income per month, profit by car, income per month per car. You can see what are up months, which are down months, my total deductible expenses for the year, and the total revenue for the year, average income per day for all the cars combined, total profit, and then broken down by car, total revenue, average income per day per car, and total profit per car. And that is basically my spreadsheet and how I track my finances from day to day on my trips in Turo. And finally, I just cover a little bit about Quickbooks SelfEmployed online. This is how I, from a kind of formal way, track where my expenses and profit and loss are. I will reconcile this against what I've been also tracking in my spreadsheet and just kind of make sure they look the same. And the benefit of using QuickBooks Self-Employed allows you to push this all into TurboTax, which is how I file my taxes. I will run through in another video how to use this, and please subscribe to my channel if you're interested in seeing that video as well. Thank you.